For hundreds of years, we've toyed with the idea of perpetual motion machines, and everyone from Leonardo da Vinci to Thomas Young has had a go at debunking them. And yet, we're still captivated by the idea that there's a machine out there that could deliver more energy than what it was provided with.
But you know what they say, there is no such thing as a free lunch, because the very existence of a perpetual motion machine would violate the laws of thermodynamics. And, well, it's not really easy to go about breaking the laws of thermodynamics. In fact, it's impossible.
So if someone comes along and makes claims of perpetual motion, and there are plenty of those claims on the web, you should probably be suspicious.
So here we have a simple guide to protect you against perpetual motion bunk.
Lesson number 1. When someone tries to sell you a perpetual motion machine, there's always a hidden power source. Sometimes it's hard to see because it uses the energy so slowly that it looks like it's not using energy at all. So what you need to do in that situation is just wait it out. The drinking bird is a prime example of this. It can be tricky to see where the energy is coming from, but if you wait long enough, it becomes pretty clear. The fuel for our flightless friend is indeed the water. But how it uses the water to continue rocking is fascinating and surprisingly complicated. So there are two major systems at play here. The first is an external one to do with evaporation. The bird's head gets loaded with water, and then this water is allowed to evaporate. And as you'll know if you've ever worked up a sweat, when liquids evaporate, they cool down their surroundings. The second one is an internal one to do with the red fluid here. This fluid is quite volatile and has a boiling point close to room temperature. It's being pushed and pulled up the neck of the bird depending on the temperature of the head. When the head is cold, the liquid is sucked up. And when it's warm, the liquid drains into the base. This shifts the center of gravity of the bird, allowing it to continue rocking so long as it has a ready supply of water. So the hidden energy source for this perpetual motion machine is really just the water.
Lesson 2, there is a hidden power source. This one is tricky. If you give it just a little nudge here, then its swing will start increasing. So you get constantly increasing motion just from a tiny little tap. But this pendulum, like a lot of other perpetual motion machines you might see on the internet, has a very large and conspicuous base just here. So if we have a look at what's hiding inside, we have a battery, an electromagnet, and a transistor. Just like Faraday discovered downstairs here at the Royal Institution, a moving magnet induces a current in a coil of wire. And if you couple this with a switching device like a transistor, then the coil in the base will push the magnet on the pendulum every time it swings past, which is what allows it to keep going and keep increasing. If we put this back on here and start it going again, there we go. Every time that pendulum swings towards the coil, it induces a small current, which the transistor uses to turn the electromagnet on every time the pendulum passes, giving it a small kick up the other side. The electromagnet then turns off until the pendulum comes back the other way, turning the electromagnet back on so it can keep giving it a kick up each side. Using an electromagnet obviously requires electricity, so eventually the battery will run out, and then you have a not so perpetual motion machine.
And probably the most important, there is a hidden energy source. A true perpetual motion machine would have to output more energy than it takes in, and that goes against the first law of thermodynamics, which states that energy is conserved. In researching this video, we tried to replicate some of the devices we saw on the internet, like this device right here. It seems simple enough. You attach some magnets to a computer fan, use another magnet to drive it, and voila. Only this is a total hoax, a not so clever magic trick or sleight of hand, which is really easy to do in a video. For example, we could have had a fan blowing off camera, or as in lesson 2, a hidden power source, like a battery. Many of the examples we found also mention things like monopolar magnets, which simply don't exist. And if they did, they wouldn't be made of ordinary matter, let alone readily available at a local hardware store. In reality, devices like this fail spectacularly because there's always a hidden power source.
So if you take anything away from this video, it should probably be, there's a hidden power source.
And we hope this guide has given you some confidence in dispelling some of those nasty perpetual motion hoaxes.
The great thing about science and about scientific evidence is that it should be repeatable, it should be replicable. You should be able to give your machine to someone and they should be able to take it apart and figure out how it works.
So if anybody out there thinks that they have a perpetual motion machine, please show it to us, but make sure that it doesn't have a hidden power source. Thanks for watching, and thanks to Tom Scott for helping us out with this video. For more perpetual motion machine fun and to see what Tom found in our archives, check out his video. And don't forget to hit subscribe for more fun science content.